And we're live.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. I have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Have a second.
All second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. So we have the consent agenda, consent item first, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Have a second.
All second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. We'll go on to the next item on the agenda. It's yours, Myra, right?
Yes, it is.
All right.
Well, first of all, I'd like to introduce Dr. Paul Porter. He works consults with the Sonoma County Office of Education, and he will be assisting me through the evaluation process. He also works with Sonoma State University and knows many of our staff. Anyway, so I'd like to introduce him. Would you like to say a few words, Dr. Porter?
Thank you. Yes, I am provided by the county office. I used to be a superintendent in Mark West School District. I was a superintendent for about 19 years. And now I was also a professor at the university. That's how I think I had almost every one of your principals in my program at one point or another. So the county office provides my services at no charge to new school districts to help with the evaluation process, because Dr. Harrington found that over the years, some school districts would come up after about a year and find that some of the districts and superintendents, well, what are our goals and things? So this is just a service completely up to you. There's no charge, where I would work with you as a board and superintendent and help your superintendent develop goals, and then maybe facilitate a discussion between the board and your superintendent about what kind of evaluation process you would like to have for her. So I'm here at your service. And so thank you for introducing me tonight, Dr. Perez.
Thank you. And now we're going to start with the presentation. Most of you received the entry plan, and what I'm going to do is highlight some of the components of that entry plan. Thank you, Mike. So first, I'd like to start off with, next slide. First, I'd like to start off with talking a little bit about my beliefs and values. Really, this is about how I lead. And if any of you are familiar with the work of Brene Brown, Dare to Lead, she talks about leaning into your values. And so that you tend to lead, you don't leave your values at home. Those are the values that you bring to work. So you saw there's two of the values listed in my entry plan, but I did add a third. In terms of equity, it's really providing, for me, equity is very important. It's providing every student what they need to succeed. This will vary, and it's really dependent and important that each child receives what they need in terms of to succeed. And that may look different for every child. So that's a little bit about equity. In terms of teamwork, there is just no place for an us and them. It has to be a collaborative relationship so that all of our students are successful. And that's why I believe that we need to work in collaboration with our union partners, in collaboration administrators, in collaboration with our community and our parents for the ultimate success of our students. So that's a little bit about how I operate, that we're in this together. It takes a village, and this is really critical, is that teamwork to make sure that all of our students are well served and that we're able to provide a better future because our students are well prepared to support the community. Humility, really what this is for me is I really don't know everyone's story. I don't know every personal story. We need to listen. I need to listen to learn from other people's perspectives, from other opportunities or lack of opportunity that folks have had to better serve the community. And there is seldom one answer. So really it's listening to the individual story of each family, of each student, to be able to learn from them, because I don't know it all. And if I felt that I knew it all, I'd probably have to move on. But it's really about that, and that's how I was raised. And I believe in being humble and listening to others to learn from others. Next slide. So one of the a little bit about my strengths, there is a book called The Strength Finder. You can see there's a link if you're interested, a live link of going to that website. You can learn a little bit about there, but these are my five strengths. You basically complete kind of a inventory of questions, and you have to respond within 10 seconds, and based on that, you get 5 strengths. So in terms of individualization, basically it means that I'm intrigued by the unique qualities of each person and figure out how different people work together. And for me, it's beneficial. If everyone were like me, first of all, it would be boring. And it really doesn't bring a dynamic to the team. So if you have different folks with different strengths, that's what makes a stronger team. So that's a little bit of individualization. In terms of achievers work hard. They like milestones, they like projects, and they like to accomplish goals, and they have a lot of stamina for accomplishing goals. In terms of a relator, that talks about wanting to develop close relationships with folks, getting to know people, and a need for transparency and honesty. So that's a little bit about the relator. In terms of responsibility, I'm committed to stable values such as honesty and loyalty. So really, and being responsible and wanting to do my job well for the success of the students. In terms of the learner, which is, definitely defines me, is there's a desire to learn and want to continuously improve. And that's why I tend to go back to school again and again. I've run out of degrees, but I still sign up for workshops where I can continue to grow and develop as a leader. Next, please. So in terms of the entry plan, I do want to say that ordinarily, typically, a new superintendent would probably present an entry plan in July. We had many other things on our plate, so we needed to make sure that we were ready for distance learning, and that's why I decided to delay the plan until August. But I've been working towards my goals. So in terms of the goals, I want to create opportunities to listen broadly and deeply to a wide variety of stakeholders and to gain a comprehensive understanding of the district. I want to learn about the direction of Cotati-Roanoke Park to gain an understanding into its strengths, challenges, and areas for improvement so that we can best serve our students. I want to learn about the district's initiatives and priorities that are being implemented in our schools and by the staff. I want to ensure that all voices, not just those who traditionally collaborate in the school system, are heard and are engaged in the process of continuous improvement. So it's really about listening to everyone, having a broad perspective of what's going on in the district. So in terms of the timeline, as you know, probably because of COVID and being closed and not having to report to work, I was working remotely. I was able to get some snapshots of the district prior to beginning work on July 1. So in May, I started interviewing cabinet members, and I attended board meetings, any opportunity to learn about the district. In June, I began working with trustees and looking at reports, the California dashboard, to see kind of the trends, to learn about the demographics of the schools. In July, I was able to very quickly, might add, interview the principals and the assistant principals, and they all chose to come in and meet with me personally. We were socially distant, but we were able to meet, which was really good. It's a real different perspective when you're meeting people on screen versus meeting people in person. So I was very grateful and appreciative to the site administrators for coming in to see me. During this month, I've begun with the PTA presidents. So I've met so far with 3 PTA presidents. I still have a few more to meet, and that gives me another perspective about the schools and the district. In September, I will continue on with meeting with union leaders, although I know them well. I do want to ask them my questions. I'm going to begin reaching out to our principals to meet with students. I tend to want to meet with our high school students as well as some of our middle school students, and maybe even elementary. And really what I seek here is, I will probably meet with our ASB students, but I also want to meet with maybe students that are an AVID or maybe English learners, because I want to get a broad perspective of the student experience. Also, I have an interest in meeting with the DLAC families, obviously, because we serve their students and want to get to know what their experience with the district is. Through the months of October, December, there would be an analysis of data, and really my goal is to return to the board with a study session to share findings in the month of December. Next. So how will information be gathered? At this point, I've done a lot of one-on-one meetings and interviews. I'm participating in parent meetings, so if there's any kind of meeting going on, I'll try to attend to get a perspective. I was able to spend time with the music boosters at their first meeting for middle school, and that was really informative. I've asked to be invited to the Excel program board meeting just to learn about the programs and the organizations, and also the one-on-one meetings help. I'm attending any type of special events that the schools have, reviewing assessment data and reports, and attending staff meetings. So I'm, those are other ways. So the questions that I ask when I meet with everybody, I may change the words a little bit, but really what's working in Cotati-Rohnert Park to achieve goals and outcomes? What do we need to improve to better serve the community and support our students? What should our priorities be? So really asking a broader community, what do I need to focus on as a superintendent? What support do you need from the superintendent to accomplish your goals? And that's been mostly to staff, and definitely I'm eager to hear what the community has to say. And is there anything else that you would like me to know about Cotati-Rohnert Park and your community? So far, what I've been able to do over the last few months is every trustee, I've been able to speak to you individually. I've also met with all the members of the cabinet, principals, assistant principals. I've met with the city manager, and I'm starting to meet with the PTA and PTSA presidents. So I still have some work to do, but I've made some good progress. And I wanted to share with you the emerging themes. No matter what perspective people bring to the table, these are themes that are very common throughout the district. There's a need for communication. So the communication is good, but there's a need for it to be consistent, frequent, and accessible to all members of our community. So it's interesting that it's like we just need to reach out more. So I've been really working on that. I don't have a plan. I would like to have a plan moving forward, but I do try to reach out as much as possible through my letters and videos. There's definitely a need of celebration, to focus and acknowledge the positive work happening at the schools. I think that we have some dynamic leaders and wonderful staff, and they need that feedback that they're doing a good job. Professional development. There's a strong desire to learn how to best enhance outcomes and meet the diverse needs of all students, with a focus on students of color. And in this instance, it's English learners. How do we serve those students better? And as a result of that, we're starting to do some professional reading together, and we're looking at options. We know we have a budgetary concern. So how do we get the most powerful professional development to our folks, to our staff, without impacting the budget? And we've had some luck with finding some of that, which I will share in meetings to come. Community engagement. There's an increased need for participation by parents and families that reflect the diversity of our school community. So really bringing more people from the entire community to the table to chime in and give us a perspective on the system, on education in the district, and how well we're doing. In terms of next steps, I still need to work on scheduling with union leaders to ask my questions, parent leaders, students, community leaders, and groups. So there's, in the works, we have city council members that want to meet with me, and I need to continue to work with the other groups. And as a result of this work, I really want to develop goals, maybe in the area of the emergent themes, but I really want to wait till I gather all of the data to see what rises to the surface. And then we'll have an additional study session. There will be site visits. I am going to be begin meeting or arriving at the schools, or staff can come to me, the principals, beginning in September, where we're going to look at their goals and what they want to focus on this year, in terms of, to achieve and accomplish this year. Really, we're looking at 2 student achievement goals, which will be very unique under distance learning. So what are we going to look at? How are we going to look at that? The other question that I'm asking the principals is, how am I going to get insight into what's happening in instruction while we're in distance learning? So, people being comfortable with that. Ordinarily, I visit a lot of classrooms. So, how's that going to look? And really working on defining success. Success is going to very much look different than ordinarily when we're, brick and mortar and everyone's in the classroom. So lessons are going to look different. So what does that look like? So really defining those things, and my job in supporting the principals to do the best they can for their students and support their students. So those are our next steps. So that concludes my my presentation. I do want to hear if there's any feedback. Is there anyone in particular that you'd like, any comments about the entry plan or anything that you can help me? Feedback would be highly appreciated.
So Myra, this is Les. I'll
Yes.
start out. Last year, the board met with Mike and we came up with district goals. So how are we going to intertwine those goals into your performance? Or how you going to, those goals, are we still, Mike, are you there?
I'm right here.
So I don't know if you shared those with, I'm sure you have, or Myra's seen those, hopefully. Are those goals still applicable now due to the crisis and stuff? And how do we address those along with what Myra wants to do?
I think that they're similar to some of the themes that Myra's already come up with in the listing that she's done. I think providing her with those as a framework, and then based on what she sees and hears, perhaps modifying them based on the current circumstances. But I think that those really become the base. And it did provide an overview of the direction the board wanted to go.
Okay, question from other board members? Have similar concerns or whatever?
I definitely would love for us to go over the goals that we did write so that we're all on the same page. One of the other things that I really would like to kind of hear about from you as we go along with the distance learning is, I'm hearing some frustrations from parents. Not surprising, because they are multitasking in many new ways. But one of the things is, I've heard that they're trying to teach their kids how to do some of the math skills, but it's not being corrected. So they might be learning something, but it doesn't mean that they're learning it accurately. So if there's any way that we could be on a regular basis sending out some sort of a short, quick survey to parents to kind of keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on or what they need help with, because sometimes people are afraid to ask, but when we're repetitively asking them, they feel more like they're being heard.
Thank you for bringing that up. One of the things that I've asked Mr. Marshall to do is to develop a survey. So we have a short survey. We've gotten input from the principals, because I think we're going to have to do this, depending on how long distance learning goes on, we're going to have to routinely ask for how the community is doing, because I'm hearing some of the same frustrations as I interview parents. So what the plan is I will do put together a video with Mr. Kirby on Friday, which we're hoping we'll send out Monday, announcing the survey and maybe other few nuggets of information. And then we would probably push it out, email it out on Tuesday, so that we can take the temperature and see how we're doing.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
One other thing, and you kind of touched on it too, I mean, obviously it's so much different with the distance learning, not being able to walk into a classroom. If there's any way that, I'm sure I could reach out to teachers that I know and they would let me pop into a class with them. But if there's any teachers that are out there watching that would not mind having us just pop in and kind of see how things are going and see how things are working, I would love to be able to just be able to participate and see how, they're interacting with kids.
Yeah, that's an excellent suggestion. And that's what my first site visit will be. So I'm just going to ask for a little bit of patience because I think people are still getting comfortable. And then I'm going to ask, like, and then I'll ask and see how comfortable they are. But that's great. I will let you know. I will let the board know.
Perfect. Thank you. Oh, one other thing. So your memos that you've been sending to us are great. I would just love to know, like, if you're going to do something ahead of time, like your KSRO interview, I would love to have known ahead of time so I could have listened to it live.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
I have to say, Myra, welcome again. I'm really, I was really, really pleased to receive your email and see the goals. It's not something we've had a little topsy-turvy over the last few years here. So we haven't been able to have a stable leadership. So this just proves to me that what I felt the first time I met you was what an honest, genuine, person you are and how much you care about students and families. And so I'm really, really looking forward to working with you on these goals and incorporating, as Lev mentioned, our district goals. I know we all have to have patience right now. We can't have everything we want yesterday. It's a different time. I don't think education's ever going to quite be the same again, which is probably a good thing. I think it's a terrible way we had to do it, but I think it needed a shove in this direction to make some really hard changes. And yeah, I've been hearing some of the same things that Jennifer's been hearing. I've also been hearing some frustration, parents, a lot of people that can't get on the Chromebook, they're just not computer savvy. So I've been trying to direct them to reach out to their site principal, how to help them get a ticket open. So I was hoping we could get something up on our landing page I know we don't want, 5,000 phone calls coming into the IT department because it's just ridiculous, but there's got to be a way I heard from a parent who'd been trying for 4 days to get their student logged in. So I think that some of the kids that aren't logging in yet are still having issues. I don't know what the best answer is to reach out and help them. So, if kids have already missed 5, 6, 7 days of school, parents are going to have a really big frustration on top of everything else that's going on. So I just want to say I am really, really glad you're here. Thank you.
Thank you. Please remind the parents to contact the schools. I think, it's just an unusual time and people want to help and support the students. So we need to know about that so that we can, we're willing to hold hands and to help help the community. So just please let us know. And hopefully we'll have the helpline position soon so that we have an extra set of hands assisting with logging on.
Great.
Any other
Hey,
questions?
Lev,
Yeah,
this Tim, is Joe there?
yeah, yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
I want to hear from Joe. Because I was so impressed by what you said at the last meeting and toward then where you recognized everyone for performing so well under difficult circumstances. It was so eloquent. I thought about what you said for a week. So I want to hear what you say before I say anything.
Oh, well,
Not to put you on-
I've been actively involved in at least Madison's couple times logging in, and kindergarten I think is a little different, So she's her teacher is like super awesome at keeping the kids engaged and keeping it entertained. It's nice to see. And Anthony just started middle school, so his is a little bit more lecture instruction. So I haven't really got, he doesn't really need help, but it seems to be, working. We had last year to kind of like figure out what works for us, and it's not the easiest thing or the most convenient, but we just keep making little changes to make it better. And I do appreciate like all the hard work that the teachers and all the creative ideas people came with. And one thing I noticed is a little bit more standardization. So last year I noticed there was a bunch of different programs and places to go for the kids that look at their material, and people were doing different things. And I have 2 kids at 2 different schools, and it seems to be much more similar and streamlined. So I know that makes it a lot easier. We haven't had any technical issues except for, I think, everyone in the neighborhood online. So we had to get like a bigger router and a little bit faster internet so we can get some more bandwidth in the house because everyone's working from home. But yeah, it looks good. And thank you for taking the initiative to Myra, Dr. Perez, taking the initiative to do this presentation. And it's really nice to see that we have like it feels a lot more a stable environment, because ever since I've been here, it's been 2 interims, and there's a period of time with no interims, and luckily we had Robert and Julie that took the helm and took care of us. But yeah, it's nice that it feels like we're gonna have like an establishment. It feels like there's gonna be some sort of structure and some normalcy as far as the district office for a while, and then I think that'll make it a little easier. Like all the COVID stuff and fires and everything else going on, having a stable superintendent with a plan feels good. You're up, Tim.
Okay. Hey, yeah, I'm glad Joe mentioned the thing about taking the initiative, because that was sort of in the back of my mind when I was hearing what you were saying, Dr. Perez. And I really appreciate your taking the initiative. I mean, it's very impressive. And I really like what you're saying about values. I think all of us have seen that you live those values of listening and humility. And I hope you could send me a link to that book by Brown. I can't remember her first name.
Brene Brown.
But I want to see if they have it on audiobook, because I'd love to listen to that. And I think I mean, I've never heard of an entry plan for a superintendent before. I've heard of the year-end evaluation, but I was kind of impressed by that too, that you're educating the board on what steps a superintendent can take. And it just makes a lot of common sense. That I really like how you stress patience, and that you're going to be listening to all the stakeholders and taking time to come back to the board in December and present what you found. And I also feel like amazed that in the middle of dealing with all the day-to-day minutia of dealing with the situation, that you're thinking long-term and mid-term, and it just inspires me with confidence in you. Thank you. And I'm just so grateful that you're here.
Well, Myra, this is Lef. I have a question.
Yes.
So you've given us an outline of dates from now through December.
Mhm.
How do you suggest best to update us monthly, like September, October, November, so you can keep us advised on how your schedule's going?
I can certainly, it's up to the board if you would like me to do a report once a month at a board meeting, I could provide a written report of the progress I've made. Or I can also do it through the weekly update.
The, since the public doesn't see the weekly update, it might be to the advantage of everybody to, give us, updates throughout, as part of your board presentation for the superintendent to kind of keep us advised, and then others can hear that too.
Perfect.
That sound
Do that.
okay?
Yes.
All right. Any other questions or input?
Oh, I have a question. I apologize. Who is the gentleman from SSU and SCO?
Dr. Porter?
Dr. Porter? Dr. Perez, can you just clarify what his role or potential role is? I'm not sure about.
I'm going to ask Dr. Porter to chime in also. He will assist me through the evaluation process. So once we complete complete the entry plan, he will help me craft the goals. We will look at the goals that were created with Dr. Wattenpaw, and we create goals for the district as well as goals for me. What Dr. Porter can also offer is metrics or tools that you can use to measure my performance. Have I got it right, Dr. Porter? Oh, you're muted.
Yes, very accurate. I think those are kind of the two things: help to Dr. Perez, and I don't just any help I can be to help in formulating the goals, because I've worked with a lot of superintendents, and maybe some help in integrating the district goals with the board goals, with their personal goals. That's always a challenge, right? So any feedback I could give and help her there, it's still her show. And then the second thing is once the board and the superintendent come up with goals, if I can help with the evaluation process. So maybe I would give the board some tools that other districts have used for giving superintendent feedback. Maybe you'd want me to come in I don't know, mid-year and facilitate how's she doing. And then maybe at the end of the year evaluation, a lot of districts would have me come in and facilitate a discussion and help the board with, maybe I take notes, maybe I would help facilitate to do the actual evaluation. The goal being no surprises, really clear what the board wants, what the superintendent wants, and lots of feedback along about how she's doing, which sounds like marvelous already. So the second part would be to help the process of giving her feedback and making sure the board and superintendent are on the same page. But it's totally optional. You can change it in any way you want. I'm essentially here for you guys. And you can.
So could I ask you, Dr. Porter, this is Tim Nunn. Could I ask you a question, please?
Of course.
So maybe I'm reading too much into this because this is new for me, but it seems to me like there's almost an educational component built into this evaluation process, because it seems like you're bringing along all the stakeholders, getting everyone on the same page, being completely transparent about goals and progress, and then so that everyone is contributing to that progress. Is that right, or am I reading too much into it?
Better said than I said it. That's the goal, is no surprises.
Okay, great. Thank
if
you.
I can help
Thank
with
you
my
for-
experience, then all the better. So I just finished
thank
helping
you.
Windsor. I helped Healdsburg a little bit with their process. I was helping several districts do this very thing. So yeah, transparency is it. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, I just want to thank you, and we really appreciate your willingness to do this, and it's free.
Yeah. Thank you. And I'm not supposed to say this, but I think you did really well with your superintendent selection.
So this is Lef. Would we anticipate in December putting a document together, kind of a conclusion of where we've been and where we're going to go. So then is that something that we would put together in December?
Yes, I would return to the board with a report of my findings and my recommendations
Right.
with the
And
with the
then-
help of Dr. Porter.
And then I might, well, yeah. And then what I might add to that is how will the board give the superintendent feedback on what that process is and what will it look like at the end of the year for
Right.
giving feedback? Because I think, if you'll excuse me saying this, I think the board has a role here too of helping and doing everything it can do to help the superintendent be successful. So maybe there'll be some things that she'll ask of the board too. I think that would be fantastic. So.
Right. And part of that process is that I would hope to have Jennifer's input prior to her leaving. And then we will have one new board member, maybe, could possibly be two in December, depending upon how the election goes. So it'll be a little bit different team, but at the same time, the new board members or board or whatever will need to understand the process and come together in December to go forward. So we need to kind of revisit that, again, taking Jennifer's experience and her input, as she leaves to weave into that process, along with weaving our goals or district goals to see how best we can move forward, through all the different times. So that
Beautifully
would be
said.
my hope.
Beautifully said. Yeah.
Any other questions? Anybody? Okay, well, thank you, Myra. Thank you, everybody. And I assume if there's nothing else, are we going to adjourn this meeting? You're on mute, Myra, but that's all right.
Oh, I'm just not talking. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm nodding. Yes.
You're nodding. Yes. Okay. You're not as animated. So anyway, well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Myra. And our next board meeting is not a week away. It's a couple of September, right?
September 15th.
September 15th. Okay.
Almost 3 weeks. Stop it.
All right,
Thank
everyone.
you for including me. Thank
All
you.
right. Welcome and stay safe and health. And hopefully we'll get some clean air and we'll move on with all these challenges. So thanks again, everyone.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.